11 things that increase glucose and blood sugar, and what you're going to do to avoid it. Here's the golden tip. It's no use me just telling you what raises glucose without telling you how to solve it, how you're going to dodge these pitfalls. So going straight into the video, I won't ask for a like. I'll assume that you've already liked it, so let's get started. Number one, that raises blood sugar or glycemia. These are synonyms. Firstly, stress. Why? When you get stressed, you have a spike in cortisol, adrenaline. So stress really increases. The situations that stress you out in your daily life, for example, in traffic, is a case in point, or a fight you had, or perhaps you're worried about something. You're going to take a test in a week, or your child is taking a test, waiting for a job approval. Some situation that makes you anxious, a separation for instance, adds to your stress, but also increases blood sugar. It's going to get out of hand. You know that. That's why I put it at number one, because many people even notice the difference. Oh, that thing happened, so the glucose really went up. So it's important for you to make that connection. If that happens to you, if it increases when you're stressed, write in the comments. Also indicate what type of diabetes you have and where you're speaking from, what part of the world you're watching this video from. Situation number two, which increases blood sugar, is when you don't have a routine because your body can't figure out when it's dawn. For example, you stay indoors all day, don't have the stimulus of sunlight. You don't adhere to a pattern for sleeping and waking up, which is essential for your body to regulate the circadian cycle. There are hormones that naturally rise in the morning, such is the case with glucagon, growth hormone, cortisol, and adrenaline are the hormones against regulators that cause an increase in blood sugar. This naturally happens in the morning and reduces throughout the day, so at night the cortisol should be reduced. If you lack a routine, what happens is your body can't understand it well. This has been proven to raise blood sugar. People who do a reversal of their routine or work night shifts, for example, I did that a lot when I was on duty. For instance, I didn't have a routine. This makes it very tough and is proven to raise blood sugar levels. It's not just the blood sugar, but it greatly intensifies the likelihood of you being a type 2 diabetic. And the third thing is infections of any kind could be viral, fungal, or bacterial. So a flu, tonsillitis, pharyngitis, otitis, ear infection, even skin infections, for example, can cause a surge in your sugar level. Your body naturally increases blood sugar levels. In people who already have diabetes, this causes a further increase in sugar levels. If you are not a diabetic, your body can compensate. It raises insulin production and then manages it. But in diabetics, it gets worse because the body's insulin resistance increases, and there is a failure in this process, leading to infections. Number four, and this is common knowledge, it's refined sugar or simple sugar. When we talk about sugar, I'm also referring to simple carbohydrates. Why? Because when you consume bread, for example, and after digestion, your body converts the bread's carbohydrates, the flour, into sugar. So refined sugar, table sugar, simple carbohydrates like bread or flour are essentially the same. Therefore, a major cause of increased blood sugar is sugar consumption. Number five, fat. And here I am referring specifically to body fat. Why? Because fat is closely linked to an increase in obesity, for instance, and an increase in type 2 diabetes, because the disease mechanism involves insulin resistance. And it's been proven that the more fat tissue you have, the more fat you have in your body, the higher your chance for insulin to not function properly, hence increasing blood sugar. Number six, remedies. What remedies? Antibiotics, for instance, anti-inflammatory drugs like corticosteroids, even decongestants can raise blood sugar. Antidepressants, there are several kinds of medications, but here the doctor already takes into consideration when he's going to prescribe some kind of medication that it can happen. Okay, so that's the only thing I'm going to talk to you about. Don't worry, we've got that covered. But it's important for you to know why you're going to feel a difference when you take your blood sugar measurements. So medicine is also a cause. Number 7, a sedentary lifestyle. Why? Because exercise is a great ally in the fight against diabetes. Because when you exercise, you increase muscle mass, and muscle is a great ally in reducing blood sugar because it consumes sugar. So your blood glucose or blood sugar is reduced. And also because when you exercise, you use some of the stored sugar as a source of energy. So a sedentary lifestyle is one of the things that raises blood sugar. And for some people, exercise can raise blood sugar right after you're done exercising. Why? Because depending on the stimulus, your body has an increased release of adrenaline, for example, which raises blood sugar. So this can happen, and the liver can produce sugar. That's why you might say, hey, I exercised, I burned calories, then I checked, and my blood sugar level increased. Why is that? Why does this happen? So, for these two reasons, more adrenaline and an increase in the liver's production of sugar. Got it? That's why it happens, but it's only temporary. So, even though your blood sugar might be raised after, you should still exercise since it's greatly beneficial in the long run. For some people, this occurs. If this applies to you, mention it in the comments because this question gets asked a lot. Number 8, surgeries or even procedures like stitches. If you've been cut, for instance, it's something that can cause inflammation in your body. And why surgeries? Because when you have a surgery, even something like a dental implant, your body naturally secretes more hormones like cortisol. This greatly worsens your glycemic control. So, surgery can also increase your blood sugar. Number 9, periods of hormonal changes like puberty, menstruation, pregnancy. Why? Because hormones like progesterone can increase insulin resistance, so your blood sugar gets raised. In pregnancy, the placenta produces a hormone called placental lactogen that also increases blood sugar. So it's very common for you to have controlled blood sugar, hitting therapeutic targets, managing diabetes well, and then suddenly you have a drastic increase. This happens very often during puberty. A well-controlled type 1 diabetic patient enters puberty and the blood sugar gets much worse, gets quite high because of hormonal changes. Number 10, and this item is also no surprise to anyone, is cigarettes. Those who smoke have an increased chance of developing type 2 diabetes, also because it can cause changes. It can increase your insulin resistance, for example. So I'm not even going to dwell on this item here. Here, any type of cigarette, haystack, electronic cigarette, if it's cigarette, can also increase the chance of you having high blood sugar levels. It's no surprise, I'm not even going to explain too much. You already know you shouldn't smoke. Number 11, and the most unfair of all, I know, which is genetics, because that's the one item that doesn't depend on you, that you can't change. We already know that those who have type 2 diabetes, for example, 75% of the time will have a family member who also has the disease. So it has genes that greatly increase your chance of developing type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes too, but in type 2 diabetes this is even more marked, okay? Ain't got much to do, it's fine unfair. Sometimes you can exercise, you can be skinny, but if you have very strong genetics, your chance of developing diabetes is too high. And now, what are you going to do? What's the golden tip? You're the one who has stayed this far. You're curious to know what's going to change. When you have any of these situations, or you got the flu, or you had surgery, or you had a day when you were taking a test, what are you going to do? When you do the blood sugar test, or when you go for a blood test, you have to mark the period that this happened, because it is very common for people not to. They write down the days, and the doctor is confused by the results. So, you're going to do, for example, here, you have to make this spreadsheet. And on the days that you have one infection, you're using some medication, you're using antibiotics, you're using a corticosteroid. For example, you're going to put an asterisk next to it, and you're going to write down the days, whether you've used the medication, or you've been under stress, or your routine has changed, or if you are menstruating, for example, you should record the days, but you must do so in a clear way. On the days you have an infection and you feel slightly higher blood pressure, you'll run a blood test because it's natural. You have to do this before carry out the blood test, but it's unnecessary to do it the day you're sick with an infection because there's a chance that after you take the medication, you won't panic anymore. You won't have hypoglycemia because that's how the doctor will adjust. you will have hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar will drop significantly, which is harmful to your health. This fluctuation can be very high 1 hour, extremely low the next. So it's vital you put an asterisk beside it and note down the duration you had this change. Quite so. Now I'm going to leave a suggestion for you to watch. It's a video where I've talked about the 11 fatal mistakes in diabetes treatment, preventing you from managing the disease. You need to know what they are so you don't commit any of them. Here's the video. Hugs. See you next time.